Hi, I'm Pam with PJ's Glass Creations, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really adorable Halloween plaque. I know it looks kind of complicated, but it's not. It's mostly straight cuts, easy to make shapes, and I'll guide you through step by step. So join me and let's create together. I have my background. It's a Bullseye 3086, which is a white, turquoise, and midnight blue streaky. I thought it was perfect for a spooky night. And I also cut out all of my pieces. They're just pieced together here. Using this pattern, which you can find on my Etsy site, pjsglasscreations.etsy.com. And I numbered all of my pieces so that when I cut up my pattern, I would know what I was talking about. And I used them to cut all of these out. So I am going to just start assembling. I am using a Elmer's clear glue. You can use it, works for you. You can use super glue, just don't use gel glue. You can use glass tack. And only use what you need. You don't need a lot of glue. And I'm going to put this off center because I am going to have, actually I'll put it down there too. I'm going to have a full moon up here. I think I might put some things in front of the moon. And to give this a little extra texture, I am gluing just the top edge, and I am going to overlap it a little bit so that this edge up here is on the glass, and this bottom edge of the roof is kind of overlapping it, so you have a roof line there. It may not stay until I put my other pieces. Then I'm going to just start putting my other pieces in. By the way, I did use a silver Sharpie to trace my pieces. If you use silver, just know I just have it on the bottom here, so it's not going to worry. It's not going to matter. But if it is on a piece that's going to show, Sharpie does not come off in the kiln. Black Sharpie does, silver Sharpie does not. And actually this is a roof too, so I'm going to have to make this roof line overlap a little bit. And I'm going to make this roof line overlap a little bit as well. And this one too. And then finally the chimney. I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll be back to embellish and make it more detailed. So I've cut out the windows, and now I just need to make it look like there's some window panes or some panels. So I'm going to paint with enamel, and this is an AAE Glass Easy Fire enamel. And I want it to make it look like there's window panes. So I'm just making kind of a grid on it. Up to you how many you make, how many panes you make. And if they're not exactly right, don't worry about it, because once it dries, you can go back and touch it up. So these here, I'm just going to do an X. That one looks a little thick. I'm not too worried about it though. Like I said, I can fix it later. All right, I'm going to put those in the toaster oven for about 10 minutes at, I don't know, 250 degrees-ish, just so that that enamel dries, and then we'll be right back. Well, my windows are drying. I am going to put my door in place. And you can do any colors you want. I just thought it looked a little dreary, which I guess it probably should because it's a Halloween thing, but anyway, I just wanted to make a little more color. And I'm going to put a little doorknob with my black enamel. And then I'm going to use some gray, and I just made my own gray with some black and some white, and try to get some of it off my brush and make some shingles. And I don't want everything to be perfect because this is a haunted house after all. I'm also going to start a tree, and I think I want my tree to be about 5 inches tall. So I think it's a woodland brown, I'm not positive. And I'm just going to roughly cut some kind of trunk shape. And I actually think I want it to come to more of a point because I'm going to put some branches off of that. It's actually, I'm just going to keep cutting till I get what I want. It's way too fat. And I want this to be pretty irregular. So I am going to use my nippers. And by using my nippers, I can take some of these shapes and just make really thin branches that'll come off. Some will go under my trunk. Some will go over my trunk. Yeah, I'll assemble them when I'm ready. And the secret to getting a good branch is to make your nippers go parallel and just kind of randomly cut. And if you get a big piece like this here, just cut it off. And see, I got a nice point there. And I'm gonna need some really tiny ones too. And I'm just going to start kind of just gluing things in place. So first thing I'm going to do is put some branches underneath my tree. I have an imaginary line right here. I have way too much glue coming out at once. So my tree is drying and my windows are done And I'm just making my, I don't know what those are called, muntins or something between the panes of glass. I'm just making them a little narrower. They look a little thick to me. And I'm just using a toothpick. Hopefully I wasn't out of the screen. And this is a haunted house, so if they're not perfect, in fact, I should have made some imperfect. I might go back and do that. In fact, I think I am. I'm gonna take this one out. And I think I'm gonna make this one here go crooked. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. We're gonna make some changes here. Make it look more like a haunted house. Maybe make this one go wonky too. After all, they are supposed to be broken, right? And the other thing I'm going to do while I have my windows here before I put them on is I'm going to put like a border around. And I'm also going to put some enamel on the edges because I don't want my white or my yellow edges showing. Oops. Well, I'll fix that when it's dry. My windows are dry and I have glued them in place. And then the other thing that I did was add the shutters. These are 3/8 of an inch by 1.5 inch. And these are 3/8 of an inch wide by 3/4 of an inch tall. And I used some 1 millimeter stringers and just roughly cut them to the right width and then kind of glued them on really sloppy so they're going kind of every which way so that my shutters would look like they were kind of distressed. So next I'm going to make some pumpkins because it wouldn't be Halloween without pumpkins. And I have a 1 by 1 inch square. And actually, I'll show you my idea first. My idea is to take my 1 by 1 inch, round it off, and then I have a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. And I'm going to kind of make that into an oval with a point. I don't know what shape you call that. So it'll be like that. And I also am doing the same thing with some 3/4 inch ones. So here's my 3/4 inch square with the middle. And I'm going to make a variety of pumpkins. And I'm going to kind of cheat when I make these. And I am just using my nippers to cut off the corners. Like that. And this one is gonna have that pointy part. You might want to do this over something. These little pieces I'm cutting off are going everywhere. So you can kind of see what I'm going for. It'll look more like a pumpkin. I know it doesn't go there. It'll look more like a pumpkin once it is ground. So I'm going to do the same thing with all of these and take them to the grinder, and we will make some pumpkins. I have my pumpkins done, and you can see it kind of gives them some dimension. And I wanted to point out that after I made each one round, I kind of made a divot here and here to make it look more like a pumpkin. Like here is where the stem is going to be. And I just kind of placed them around. I'm not sure exactly where I'm gonna have them all, but I think I need some around the tree. They're still a little wet, so I have to be kind of careful with them till they dry. And I'm wondering if I can kind of put that one kind of covering that trunk a little bit. And maybe one just on the corner of the house here, also on the corner of that. And I think with this one, I might want to prop up the pumpkin on the edge here. So I'm just gonna use one of those scraps that I had, the ones that I cut off when I was cutting the corners off. Just to prop it up a little bit so that when it melts in the kiln, everything doesn't slide off that pumpkin. That one's kind of dirty. And then I have a piece of olive green. It's just a little scrap I had. And I'm just going to cut some stems. I want these skinny, so I'm just kind of going perpendicular to the edge there. That one's kind of long. I think I'll cut it down. Might be beneficial if I did this with tweezers. But I'm kind of being lazy right now and not getting my tweezers out. I think I need some ghosts as well. So I made these kind of organic looking shapes, kind of a ghost shape. This one does not want to break. I can fix that with my grinder a little bit. Isn't a grinder a wonderful thing? Well, you kind of get the idea. Not the best cut. And then I also want it to have some arms. So you can see that if I were to put this together, it looks as if my ghost has some arms. Sorry, I have enamel all over my work surface here. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I kind of think that things should be in uneven numbers, so I'll probably even make another ghost after this. All right, I put this red surface here just so you could see what I've done. But I have my 3 ghosts here, and then my triangles. That one goes there. I've kind of just rounded these edges here and rounded the bottom, and that will go right here underneath this main body part. So it kind of looks like it has some arms, and it just kind of gives it a little bit more depth or a little more dimension. So I'm going to glue those in place on my scene, and then I'm going to just use some enamel. You could also use little nuggets if you had them, and add some eyes to these. So let's get our scene back here. And let's see, I think I want one here. Maybe the big guy there. Maybe another one there. So I'm gonna add some glue. Actually, I might even see if I can overlap that a little bit just so that it has some, again, more dimension. The more dimension, the better. All right, so we have our ghosts. Let's put some eyeballs on him. You can either use a brush, or I have this dotting tool. I got it on Amazon under paint supplies. And just like with the house, if you end up with too much enamel or shape you don't like, once it's dry, you can go back and fix it. It's looking like we're almost done. So I'd like to put a bat maybe going across the moon a little bit. So I have a 2-inch scrap. I divided it in half so I know where my 1-inch mark is so my wings are even. And I am going to try to make these as even as I can. And when I cut this, I'm going to actually cut straight across, and then I'll use my grinder and come in here, and I'll add some scallops to the wing using my grinder. And then I think I might put a nugget right here for his body. So I'm gonna cut this first, actually not straight across, but oh, that was a bad cut. Because I'm sitting down. I should know better than to cut when I'm sitting down. Well, it's starting to look a little like a bat. That was a really bad cut. I apologize. But I'm going to go to the grinder and finish this up. And I'm thinking I'm going to put it maybe maybe put it right here, a little on, a little off the moon. So I will be right back after I grind it. Here's my batch shape. I rounded the wings just like I had them when I drew them on there. Then I used my grinder to come in here and kind of make that divot more pronounced. And then I used my grinder and just did 4 little areas where it kind of went in. I think I'm gonna put this kind of overhanging the moon, part in the moon, part out. And I have a little nugget that I'm going to put for his body. So what I'm going to do, my house and my pumpkins are floating. So I don't like them floating. And I actually am going to use my glue and put a little border just around the edges here so that my Frit doesn't just fall off the edge. And I have several fall colors of Frit. This is a woodland brown. And I'm just kind of making my ground here. And you can see that my, well, it kind of is, my glue on the edges are holding in that brown. And with Frit, I've found that you always need more than you think you do. It kind of tends to disappear. And then I want to add some fall foliage. So this is a coarse red. I'm just going to add a little bit at the bottom just for some color. I know it's a Halloween scene, but I don't want it super drab. I'm also going to add some up here in the tree. And I have some yellow. Also, put some in the tree. And some on the ground. And then I like to use hairspray to hold it in place. What I have to be careful with is that I don't get the hairspray all over my enamel, because the hairspray is a liquid and the enamel has not been fired. So if I get it on my enamel, it's going to run. But I like to do that particularly in the tree, so that I can get some that hangs on the branches too. Otherwise it tends to just fall off the branches. These little orange chips are the ones that I cut off of the corners of the pumpkins. I'm going to clean up my edges, and I need to let this dry. I might put it in the oven just to help set everything so I can get it to the kiln. And then I'm going to do a TACK fuse, but because it has so many layers, like there's the base, the house, the window and the shutter and those little lines on the shutter. So I actually have 5 different layers there. And because of that, I don't want to do a super fast tack fuse. There's just too many layers and too many inconsistency that I could end up with some cracking. So I am going to do a very conservative fuse tack, which I will have in the description of this video. And tomorrow we'll see what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with it though. I think it's pretty cute. We'll see you tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish I had a way to see how awesome all of your haunted house scenes came out. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and look for my other videos on my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook, PJ's Glass Creations, and on Etsy, also under PJ's Glass Creations. Have a good day. Bye.